Welcome everyone! Today we'll learn how to handle authentication with JSON Web Tokens in a .NET API. So open Visual Studio and create an AS.NET Core Entity application. Define the name, select the .NET version and create the application. The first step is to add the required NuGet package to handle JSON Web Tokens. So let me open the Package Manager console, type install package Microsoft.AS.NET Core.Authentication.JWT Bearer. Install the package and now go to the add settings.json to add the private key to sign the token. So add the connection string section and add the secret. Okay, this private key should be stored in a safe location. You can use any secret cloud manager such as Azure Key Vault. So for demo purposes, I will copy this private key. So let me copy a random value. Okay, so go to the program.cs file to register the JWT authentication. So call builder that services that add authentication and by constructor will pass the authentication scheme as bearer tokens, which will be our default authentication scheme. So call JWT Bearer defaults, add reference to NuGet package and set it as the default authentication scheme. Now add the JWT Bearer configuration. Okay, so in the options, let's add options that token validation parameters. We'll set these parameters. We'll skip the issuer and audience validation. So call validate audience and set it as false. Similarly for the issue, and add the issuer signing key to sign the token. So we will create a symmetric security key using the private key. Okay, and we will encode this private key using ASCII encoding. So call encoding.ASCII, get bytes, and pass the private key. So access the add settings.json from builder configuration and get the connection string. Go back to the add settings.json and let me copy the key. So far so good. Let's remove this warning by going to Solution Explorer. I go to the project configuration file and remove nullables. Disable nullables, go back. So far so good. And let's also register authorization. Okay. Now scroll down and into the pipeline we'll add the authentication and authorization middlewares. So call use authentication and use authorization. Now the idea is to authenticate a user. So create a simple entity in the project called user. Add three simple parameters. The first one will be the ID. Let's define the name and finally the email. Okay, go back to the program.cs file. So we will generate a token. So in order to do that, let's create a simple JWT service class. And in this class, we'll add a method which will return the token as a string. Let's call the method generate token. And we will receive two parameters. The first one is the user to add some claims to the token. And the second one will be the secret or the private key to sign the token. So create a new signing credentials variable, okay, called signing credentials object. And here we will pass the security key. So it's similar to the issuer signing key. So we'll call new symmetric security key and then we'll pass the bytes. So we'll encode the private key by using the ASCII encoding and pass the secret, okay. And the second element to sign the token is the encryption algorithm. So in this case, we'll call security algorithms that HMAC SHA-256 encryption algorithm to verify to sign the token. Now we'll add the information required to create the token. So add a token descriptor variable and create the respective object, which will be security token descriptor. And in this object, we'll define the subject. With this subject, we get or set the claims for the bearer token. So let's add a new method called getClaims based on the user information. So generate the method it will be of type claims identity. So create a new instance of this object, and by constructor we'll pass an array of claims. So let's add a new claim. We define the type, okay, called claim types. The first one will be the identifier. So it's based on the ID of the user. Okay, so let's transform this with as to string. And the second claim that we will attach to the token is the email. Okay, the second parameter in the security token descriptor object is the spice. We'll set the expiration time, so call date time that now that at 10 minutes, let's set this expiration time. And finally, pass the signing credentials we created in this property to sign the token. And now create a handler to generate the token. It will be an object of type security token handler. Let me check. Security token handler. JWT security token handler. And we will create the token using this handler that create token method, but passing the token descriptor, which includes all the required information to generate the token. And finally, we will serialize this token by calling handler.writeToken by passing the token. Okay, so with this method, we'll generate the token. So go back to the program.cs file. In order to authenticate the API endpoints, we'll use the Swagger UI to enter the token, the JSON Web Tokens. So in the package manager console, let me type install package swasbuckle.asnet core. So far so good. So add the Swagger configuration in the program.cs file. So first of all, add the endpoints API Explorer, and then add the Swagger generator information. So let me copy the configuration of this file and we'll explain briefly. So basically we will create the Swagger generator and then one document defining the version, the information about the API with the title and the version. And here it's important to add the security definition because we want to authorize the endpoints using the bearer scheme. So we'll add a security definition with several parameters, the name, description, how we'll receive the tokens by a header, and the security scheme type as HTTP. As you can see, the bearer scheme with a particular JSON Web Token format. And in this add security requirement configuration, we'll add the reference to this bearer security definition, okay, of the security scheme. And this empty array is to define scopes. So in this demo, we will not use scopes. So let's leave it as empty. Now scroll down and add the Swagger and Swagger UI middlewares into the pipeline. So call app.useSwagger, use Swagger UI, and that's it. We're ready to authorize the endpoints. So let's create two endpoints. The first one is to generate a token. So create a post action and we'll receive a user from body. Okay. So we'll create a new instance of the JWT service class and call the generate token method by passing the user to add the claims to the bearer token and the secret. So let me copy this part to pass the private key. And the second endpoint for this minimal API is to sign in. We'll simulate a sign-in functionality in the application and we'll return a simple hello world. Finally, in this endpoint, let's add this require authorization to access the resource by being authorized. So it's time to test the application, run the project, navigate to the Swagger UI. We have the two API endpoints to generate the token and to simulate the sign-in functionality. And you can see this authorize button because it's the configuration that we've added in the Swagger UI to enter the bearer token. So first of all, let's try to sign in, execute the endpoint. I will return a 401 status code because we're not authorized. So for that, let's generate a token. So define the user properties, define the name and the email, execute. Okay, we have a problem with expiration time. Let me stop the application. We'll add UTC now to prevent this error. Sorry for that. Execute again. navigate to the Swagger UI and generate the token. So define the name and the email. Click execute. We have the bearer token. So let's decode this token. Go to the JSON Web Tokens website. And here I will paste the encoded token, and we have the information about the token. We have the algorithm that we're using, the type, and in the payload you can see the two claims for the email and the ID of the user. We have the expiration time. So go back to the Swagger UI and click the Authorize button to enter the token and click Authorize, close the window, and let's try to sign in again. Execute it. As you can see, we have a successful status code with the hello world response. So in this demo, we've learned how to handle authentication using JSON Web Tokens in a .NET API.